It's normal for this as I hit these live buttons and make everything work again. Hi, everybody. Yes, we're late, but unfortunately, there was not a lot of Fluxx free, and Momo has a late schedule as has joined us late.
Have a late schedule. It's unfortunate.
So, it's just been a weekend of, like, trying to figure out certain people, if they would be free, if they're not, and stuff. So, yeah, we're starting late today. It's fine.
Turns out adults are hard to get to do things together.
Well, it's been hard to get awaken a slumber to join us one of these times.
Umber's life has become playing Final Fantasy and the impossible attempt to get through 2 expansions in 2 weeks so you can play the new one.
That's crazy talk.
Yeah, So Umber's just in Final Fantasy land now, forever probably.
He'll eventually be out. Eventually.
Maybe.
Until then, we'll just have to be without our Snuggie enthusiast.
Yeah.
So, I guess let's just dive into our, topics for the last 2 weeks. So, here's the question for you. Do you want the nice kind of Magic the Gathering news, or do you want the bad kind of Magic the Gathering?
I always love the bad one, because it's hilarious to see you get mad about it.
So, surprisingly, I'm neutral about this one. It's Secret Lairs. And the first one, now, I will tell you, these are at least reflavored cards, so they got different names, but they are effectively an entirely other card that they tell you what it is. But they're doing a crossover with the League of Legends show, Arcane.
That's weirdly specific.
Yeah, Arcane League of Legends. They're doing lands and some cards. And now, yes, a couple of them are just reflavored, like Unstable Harmonics' Ristic Study. Yeah. And they tell you that. I'm not against that. If you want to call it something different and say it's this card, but with a fancy name, with your fancy artwork from whatever you're doing, I'm okay with that. I didn't mind the Godzilla monsters because of that.
Yeah, that's fine. That's the way you do it.
They also got some
should do it.
Dracula stuff, too, because they did Dracula things with a last set as, alternate art stuff. And then, I don't know. I just look at these, and some of them are just so weird.
This is very ugly.
Which one?
This, I don't even know how the hell do you even say that. It just looks like a mess of things on a card.
Oh, the flip completely, totally, utterly lost?
Yeah, it's like one of those...
It's Where's Waldo?
Difference picture. Yeah, it's a Where's Waldo.
You're supposed to find Flip, which is supposed to be this little, homunculus from Ravnica, I think. If I can remember. And then Crocodile Jackson's monsters, ugly. Which aren't great. The Far Out Man at least has nice art, but it's eh. And then...
Yeah, those look nice.
The Snowlands, which are pixel art, and have it look like they're from, a Windows 95 pop-out. It's a style.
They look nice. I'm just never that interested in any of these Secret Lairs.
I don't know. That's what I have to say. Is the ones that have weird art, I give you that they're a thing. Certain ones of these, these reversible foils, where they're one side's a file, one side's not. It's an unnecessary flip card.
Yeah.
They're not normally flip cards. I'm just... They're promos for money, and at least these here, all of them, I don't care enough about, I wouldn't buy them, but I'm okay with them because they're promos, and if people want to fucking spend money on promos like this, which they are, is the problem. They are spending a lot of money on this.
They're spending too much money on them.
Yeah, and it's encouraging them to do stuff, there are better products they could be working on, but they don't work on them.
Because they don't make lots of money.
No. Someone came up with an idea, and it worked, and it's gotten Hasbro up on a tizzy. They're like all like, ooh, we could earn so much more money.
Ooh, all the money.
I mean, at least they had the League of Legends stuff out, like, when the show came out.
Yeah, that's at least relevant. Like, the show's still pretty relevant.
Yeah, yeah.
I think it's only like, I don't know if I can really call it a show. It's like 3 episodes or something.
I thought they said it was 6.
I don't watch.
I saw, like, I just was like, I was too lazy to get rid of the, like one of those little, like, commercial things, because it was only 16
9
seconds.
episodes, okay.
9 episodes.
Longer than some things. Like
oh.
It's longer than Castlevania.
Yeah, I
First
see.
season of Castlevania was like 3 episodes.
And because they released it in 3 acts, too.
Yeah, I thought it was just 3 episodes.
Yeah.
Apparently it's pretty good. I haven't seen it. I don't like League of Legends, so I don't know why I would watch it.
You know, there was... I've never been that interested in it. Definitely, I can say that.
Played League for a while, about 10 years ago, and it's just one of those games that made me mad.
Never played the game. The one animation they did for it, I did like back in the day, and that was about it. And that was all I knew about League of Legends. So hey, you know, it's one of those things. As a side note, I might watch it. I don't know.
I have a very neutral opinion of League of Legends, which is more than I can say about Dota, which also has an anime. But the anime is apparently really bad for Dota.
That's kind of sad. The only reason I might is because one of the characters is Jinx, and I remember the Jinx animation that they did have, like the song animation they did, which I liked back in the day.
A K-pop band for League of Legends. That's about all I know.
Yeah, there's weird stuff out there. God, weird stuff. But yeah, so I mean, I'm gonna be honest, take it or leave it. It's all.
They're always take it or leave it. They're usually bad. Sometimes they're okay.
Like, I'm not gonna break down what cards are in these, because I think that's what one of those things is. There is the double-edged sword of what cards are they offering, like monetarily wise. Now, granted, if you really like the art, that might be something too, but it's not necessarily like, you know, that too. You know, that's the problem, is just because it's the art is really nice, does that make it worth the price if all the cards are, well, shit?
I mean, like, Hexacore, which I don't know, that's playing its thing in League of Legends. I don't know, I don't play the game. It's just the Thran Dynamo, which is $5.
Yeah.
Normally. It's a cheap card.
It's like they have one of these that's freaking $30 or $40 for the foil, and it's just lands.
Yeah. Seize the day. I'm pretty sure I have a bunch of these cards in the box somewhere.
Yeah.
And I think they're not that expensive.
Like, the lands ones, they're specifically for bling, you know? There's no other reason for it.
They're just land.
Yeah.
They don't do anything special. Yeah,
and you're spending like $30 or $40 on 5 lands. Not even that many, one of each type. So it's not like you can actually build a deck out of them. You're just going to have like, well, I got these.
Well, and also be honest, like, if you would have been like, if you had never told me that these pictures are from a thing in League of Legends, I wouldn't have believed you, because it just looked like magic art.
I guess that's the problem, is that, like, looking at this and saying, like, this could easily be Ravnica or Kaladesh, you know?
This could be a lot of places that exist in Magic.
Kaladesh is like airships and shit like that, because they're, like, using, you know, they're artificers, you know? And they fucking magic trains, you know? They pull a Eberron.
Good old Eberron.
Look, all I know about it is they have a magic train, and because of the Ravenloft thing of, like, the ghost version of it, and I'm like, I guess they have magic trains.
Yeah, that Domain of Dread made it back in the new book. So
look,
the ghost train still exists.
The ghost train that was originally from, like, Eberron and became a ghost train. I like that one. It just reminds me of Final Fantasy VI. Look, they sold me on it. I'm like, Thank you, Eberron. If this is what you give me, I will take it.
Good old Final Fantasy VI, a game I've never played.
It's...
doesn't someone, like, suplex a train or something?
You can suplex a train. I will tell you, Final Fantasy VI is really, really good. It is a Super Nintendo game, and it does have those, like, errors and problems that, you know, you could never get rid of. So, like, I think, like, if you can get by, like, pixel arts and a lot of those, like, little translations errors that will never be gone, the story is actually really good.
Yeah, and one day I'll play some of the old Final Fantasy games.
I've considered playing, because I played 1 and 6 before. I've considered playing 2 through 5, but the problem is like some of them are just bad.
Yeah, I mean, Final Fantasy is a very long-running series, and long-running series have a lot of bad games in them.
It's like...
And old games also don't age very well sometimes.
Well, it's like the more I hear about 8, the less I want to play 8.
Is 8 the one with Squall, with the gun sword?
Yes, it's also the one where you can spend like 4 hours at the beginning of the game and make it that you can just breeze through everything and you don't have to do anything else, because it's got that weird card system that if you get multiples of them, it levels them up, so you can just do those cards early on. Yeah, the draw system. So you spam it early on, and it makes you overpowered because nothing scales in that game.
I own the remake for 7. I have not played it yet. It was free on PlayStation.
Oh.
And I'll probably never play it because I don't have the time to play a long video game.
I do want to... When it comes out on Steam, I might play it.
It's also not even half of 7. Like, you don't leave the city, I'm pretty sure.
Yeah. It's only the, like, disc 1. I mean, honestly, like, the remakes of 7 I might play just because I did like 7. It's not my top tier, but I did like it, so... I did have a lot of fun with, like, 9, 10, 10-2, 12. Played 30 minutes of 13, and then just was like...
I played, like, 2 hours of 13, and it was still a tutorial.
It is bad.
I've heard most of the game is just a tutorial.
Unfortunately. 13, and it's, 2 sequels? Like, I will tell you.
It does have 2 sequels.
X2 is silly for stupid reasons, and its storyline is complete garbage. Right. But there's just something about it, and, like, the silliness is just, it just wins my day for the entertainment I had. And I like the job system in it. That you kind of could switch it out and kind of like do stuff with that. It was neat. Anyway, there's a promo that I like a lot that they're having for the holiday that you can possibly get. Last minute shopping.
Okay. It's a good pun.
And it's the two brother and sister from Innistrad who are like zombie crafters, so it's great. You know,
it's pretty good.
Got him an arm.
Good promo.
Yeah. And if you don't give you a present, if you're like, did you get me a present? And they're like, here, have this card. No, yes. But if no, you get to control one of their permanents.
It is very funny.
Oh, man. See, stuff like this is what I like sometimes when Magic does it. It's a silverboard card, too, so it's supposed to be like, you know, an uncard or something. But nonetheless, you know, it's fun. Sometimes they do shit like this. So... we got a lot of topics. So how about
a lot of topics.
We talk about a life-size kobold?
Excuse me?
A life-size, 3-foot tall
how much does this cost?
kobold? I have no idea.
How much do you cost?
Foam replica red and foam replica blue.
$600.
I mean, they're a 3-foot tall.
If I was rich.
3-foot tall kobold that you can get red and blue.
I do love kobolds.
Sculpted in sturdy, lightweight foam and latex, carefully hand-painted with realistic detail. That's, again, probably why it's 600. This thing is hand-painted, too.
It's so good, though.
Yes, but, I mean, it's just like, when I saw they did this, it's like, well, that's a thing that's gonna get a lot of buying. There are people with $600 that will certainly want to buy this.
There really are. They're, like, this will sell out.
Mm-hmm. God.
I do love Pathfinder kobolds. They're so much like cuter and dumb looking.
Kobold Cleaver finally product looking for love. There's just something about Pathfinder kobolds that they make them like, I guess like D&D kobolds, they're just like, man, we're evil, grr.
They're ugly. It's the same thing with D&D goblins. They're just ugly.
Yeah. Well, Pathfinder goblins, they just look like kind of creepy cute. They make them. I think is what it is. You know, they got this like weird big head and like the red eyes, so they kind of are a little monstery, but they're also like entertainingly silly. Because the thing is, like, it's the idea of like, yes, they can be a threat, but like, goblins have their weird ways of doing things, just as kobolds do.
It's like a bunch of kobolds can be deadly, but they're still kobolds.
Yeah.
They're more likely to kill themselves.
Yes. Man, I think this is the kind of products that when I see that, it's like, I'm not gonna buy it. I don't have $600.
Yeah, I don't have money for this, but I like it.
No, but I like it. Yeah, it's like I do like the mounted heads that like WizKids does for D&D or something.
Yeah, those are cool, but they're also very expensive.
Oh god, they're also really expensive. Man, you gotta deal with like
the Mind Flayer one is really cool, but it's like several $100. The
answer is way too much. It is way too much.
Way too much money. And you can buy a hand of Vecna from them if you really like Vecna for some reason.
I mean, I think it's the hand that's holding the eye too, so it's supposed to be like, you set them.
I don't know anyone who likes Vecna that much though.
I mean, I've contemplated
cool prop.
Jokingly using him to like get someone to chop off their hand.
Does Vecna have stats in 5e?
I don't know if he has in 5e, but this was like older times. I think I always remember a DM friend of mine was like, one of these days I'm going to use the head of Vecna. Chop your head off and put a head on. It's I don't think it was supposed to be an actual thing, but it was going to see if he could get someone to chop their head off for it.
Vecna does not have a stat block in 5th edition, but is mentioned in a bunch of adventures.
Well, it's just like, I stole this joke, but I actually used it, of the armoire of invincibility.
Oh.
It's not armor. It's a giant piece of furniture you can hold around and be invincible. But you're burdened down with holding furniture that weighs like a couple 100 pounds. Good luck.
Well, it's just not a trapdoor.
Mm-hmm. Look, there's silly things you can have in role-playing games. Just gonna say that. But I mean, like this one, I guess if you have the money and want to set it up and be like, like you could pull it out, like if you're in an IRL game, you could be like, and now the kobolds attack, and you pull out a kobold or something.
Yeah, hold on, I just gotta go in the other room real fast. Lug out this big kobold.
It's like, it would certainly win over a party of people. I don't know what else would be crazy.
You could see like game stores buying these and having them as displays.
Yeah, because I think they showed in one of these things that they might have done a goblin before, because like they have like the night guy.
There's a goblin there.
Yeah, so I don't know if they've done more of these before in the past. Maybe. Let's move on though, so we don't get too distracted, because there's a lot of stuff to hit on. Hey, let's talk about Cthulhu and Germans and flying the deadly sky. It's probably in a Zeppelin. We're gonna pretend it's in a Zeppelin. It's probably not in a Zeppelin, but I want it to be in a Zeppelin.
I don't think it would be in a Zeppelin, because
it's World War II.
Exploded.
Yeah, and it's World War II, which is less Zeppelin-y.
No.
A prototype Zeppelin named the Hugin has appeared.
Sure,
Uh-huh.
Fair enough.
So
hovering over the ruins of an ancient castle.
Yeah. So probably like, Nazis are in that Zeppelin planning on stealing it for their Dark Lord Cthulhu that they are attempting to summon to conquer the world. In the name of the Führer. And you are trying to stop them. It's Achtung Cthulhu.
It's very silly.
It is a very weird and silly thing of like, it's like it's Indiana Jones meets Cthulhu, because it's sort of like you're the Allies opposing the Nazis during World War II, but it's those like secret wars that we had in real life, except they find Cthulhu-esque stuff, and those secret wars in real life didn't find anything because there was no magic shit. But
I played the like video game of it.
Yeah.
But I've never played the RPG.
No, it's one of those ones that I thought would be very interesting because it's such a like silly setting, I guess, is in a way. Because it's sort of like you feel like you're gonna go a little bit not silly because the subject matter is silly. I think
silly like Wolfenstein is silly.
Yes, like
right?
Wolfenstein is silly, or like there's always this level of like silliness or comedy to something like an Indiana Jones movie. It's an action movie, but it has that underlying, like, hey, we're beating up the Nazis or something, and things like that. So
who doesn't like beating up Nazis?
Mm-hmm. And I think it just has that air of like the weird supernatural that ends up being a little like unusual. So I don't know how an actual game of this would actually be, but but it is interesting. Yeah. So, I mean, it's a 32-page adventure for 4 to 6 players.
$7, not bad.
No, not even. It's like, it's nice to see product lines like this get more support. And Modifius is good about randomly giving their product lines support when you don't expect it. They're like, all of a sudden, they're like, oh, hey, this RPG we've had out for a while, we're putting out an adventure or this book for it. And you're like, didn't you guys, like, forget about that or decide not to do any more of it? I guess you're still producing it.
So, this adventure takes place in Romania at an abandoned castle. I hope it's Cthulhu Dracula.
Oh god, it could be that. I kind of want it to be Cthulhu Dracula. Oh god, that would be pretty silly. Look, I've had plenty of Romanian adventures already, though. I don't know if I could do more.
Yeah, true.
I sent people to Castle Dracula, and then they raided the gift shop, and then beat up some hunters.
And then I don't think Dawn ever banged Dracula's wife.
Might have. I don't know. I know that's when Samuel was kidnapped for like a year out of game. That's when Dunn had to leave, and he was just gone for like a year. And they're like, "What happened to him?" He was kidnapped by someone and went on adventures, and things happened. Speaking of Cthulhu, though, I believe we've talked about this before, but it is out. Unfathomable, the ship game, which involves like I guess Cthulhu-y stuff. I don't know the actual like thing for the game, except like from what I've seen, it's like you've got people and then you've got like cultists, but you also have like horrible Dagonian fishmen who are there too, hiding in plain sight or something. So I mean, like trying to figure out what's wrong before horribly murdered, etc., etc. Usual.
Yeah, the usual, right?
Ages 14 plus Cthulhu for
all.
Yeah.
Right. Cthulhu is very family friendly.
Very family friendly. He knows how to. He knows you when you're sleeping. He knows when you're awake.
He does dream a lot.
I think I was going to do a Santa reference there, and it just didn't work.
Yeah. Sometimes it just doesn't work.
Oh, I mean, of all the side tangent Cthulhu products that are out there, and there is, unfortunately,
there's a lot.
Yes.
It's almost like it doesn't have a copyright.
Yep. I feel like this is one of those ones that looks very interesting, because I get the vibes of, like, something like, whatever it's called, Betrayal in House on the Hill, or the Thing game? I can't remember. Who Goes There?
Oh, yeah, because that's also the name of the book the thing is technically based on.
That one is more based on the book, but it was a pretty good one, and I liked it a lot. And it's like, so you never know who's the alien or not, because you could have someone as alien or might not. I don't know if you'd have, like, the option of not having anybody dangerous or something, or have people converted. I'm not how sure it would be for, like, roles to begin out. Still.
It's also Fantasy Flight. They do plenty of good things.
I mean, I do, though I've not played it, I looked into it, because I wasn't going to spend the money on it also. I did like the update they did for Arkham Horror when they made the newest edition for it. I felt like they did the idea that it's more like tile-based for the city rather than the set map. I liked that a lot. So you could have a much more organic city, I felt like, and different cities meant different things too. That added held them with their depth. And I liked it a lot. So, I mean, Fantasy Flight does a good job. A lot of
they have a lot of good products.
So. How about we just keep rolling with the punches then and give us something from Renegade Game Studios for this week, which is part of their Crime and Capers series, and this one is, and the winner is Dead. It's a mystery game. This is like a music award show. And America's sweetheart pop star is dead. Oh no! It's a cooperative game where you group of friends take on the role of famous recording artists and work to solve the mystery. So you basically are Scooby-Doo ganging a mystery at the award show you were at.
Yeah, those can be fun.
I want to. These are kind of harder to do. I think not in person sometimes.
Yeah, I think you would have to do these in person. I think it comes with props.
Yeah, some of these might be able to be worked in tabletop sim, but I don't know.
It's a bit like how with Call of Cthulhu, it really doesn't work digitally.
It's really hard to.
Yeah. You need props for that game.
Yeah. There's certainly games which have more challenge to them to do. Yeah, I don't know. Like honestly, I like these games. I feel like I want to try one of these out, maybe on a tabletop sim and see if it would work. I don't know.
Certainly be an interesting experience.
But like these are definitely like they're interesting. I like this one's just. I gotta say it's more interesting than the last couple of settings they've done for these, because they had like a high school one and the
high school one was weird.
Yeah, that's kind of weird. And then the one where it was like a funeral feels very like with there's a will going to be read, and guess someone else is murdered that's involved with the will.
That's just like after you do your mission in Hitman, that's what happens. Because there's just a mission in Hitman where you just like go kill someone at a funeral. I'm pretty sure.
Still, it also feels like very cliche. I'd say is the word I want to look for, because that's kind of like it feels like a normal murder mystery kind of thing that you'd have in a lot of like classic British murders, like an Agatha Christie or something.
Oh God, Agatha Christie.
Or with Miss Marple or Perot being there or something. That's what it kind of feels like. A very classic mystery. While this is a very interesting take of being like you're at an award show and you're taking the roles of like, musicians doing it. I think that's another reason it kind of like stands out for me. It's different. We need different sometimes. Not just the...
Different is occasionally good.
Occasionally. But that can be a perfect segue into talking about our next thing as we kind of roll through the punches of the topics for 2 weeks. Fluxx Remix. So it's kind of like... They're calling it a kind of reimagining of the original Fluxx to a degree. And they're also saying that because they're calling it a remix, they're going to have musical references in this one a little bit more than normal.
Okay.
It seems interesting. Just like taking... I like Fluxx as a game. each version of Flux has been fun. I mean, like, I liked playing the original. I liked when they introduced a lot of stuff and brought it to the original. You know, when they did Creepers, they weren't originally in the base set, but eventually they brought them in. And various other things like that. So, I mean, I'm interested in trying it out. Definitely. How many Fluxes you can have is sort of like how many Munchkins you can have. I don't know. Because Flux is very similar to each other a lot of times. I feel like some of them, they try to be creative to add different things and layers to them to make them different, but it's the question of how many times you can actually do that. Kind of like with Munchkin, there's so many times you can do it.
Munchkin just has too much and needs to stop.
Fluxes have a good deal. Nowhere near as Munchkin. Munchkin has like 50 different versions, I would say, at this point in time.
Oh yeah, probably.
Fluxes is maybe like a dozen to 2 dozen. So I mean, that's, you know, not as bad, but still. I was right. According to their site, 26 different types of Fluxes now.
That's not too bad.
I think some of them are also out of print and stuff like that, though. But so, you know, couldn't get them anyway. I mean, like, I'm guessing Firefly Flux is out of print.
Probably.
Oh, and some of these are like Flux in Spanish, Math Flux, Flux Dice. So, I mean, like, you know. But anyway, Flux. It's a fun game. It's neat that they're doing something different with it. That might be like a redo of the original. I'm curious as to how it is, but don't know. Shall we talk a role-playing game for a little bit here?
Role-playing games. Hell yeah.
Yeah. Twilight 2000. It's the an open-world role-playing kind of game in the devastations of World War III.
Neat.
So, the original edition was in 1984, and I think it was set in 1984 in like an alternate world timeline. This game is set in...
It's set... the original set like after a very limited nuclear exchange.
Yeah. This is like year 2000, an alternate timeline where the Soviet Union never collapsed. It's world devastated by war. They have a massive box set, a PDF version, a virtual tabletop edition for Foundry VIT. So yeah, they got a lot for it. And I guess this was originally a Kickstarter game, so the Kickstarter backers should have gotten all their stuff by now. Yeah. Box version has a bunch of stuff. So the idea is that you're definitely exploring in this. It's the core gameplay is a hex crawling system. It's the one that they use in Mutineer Zero and Forbidden Lands RPG. Hi, Davey. I'm going to move you over.
Pretty interesting. I'd be interested to play it because I do like the kind of exploring kind of games.
Yeah, the exploring games aren't bad. And it sounds like it'd be an interesting kind of idea of a setting. Because, again, like, I guess it's, you know, you can either be soldier civilian who survived World War III. So it's a post-apocalyptic, but it doesn't feel like a... Because it's not supposed to be, like, super into the future. You know, that's the thing, is a lot of...
It's a bit like Wasteland, where it's literally the world ended in the 90s, so everything is still the 90s.
Yeah. But also it's like it hasn't been that long. So it's sort of like a lot of times when you've got like a apocalyptic something or other, it's usually set like, well, it's been a long time since that apocalypse. No, there's like... this would be like, oh, hey, yeah, that apocalypse that happened, you know, like, in either like, you know, in my teen years or my childhood, now I'm a survivor in this wasteland, you know, like a decade and a half later.
It's one of the things I like about the Metro game series is your characters alive remember what happened because they were all alive for it.
Yeah.
Unlike Fallout, where it's like hundreds of years in the future.
But I mean, you could have Fallout 76, where it's not that far into the future, where they have like no continuity or storyline, and like there's
yes, the Fallout game where the devs were surprised people weren't killing each other.
Oh, what? I forgot that they were expecting everybody to murder each other, murk each other. No,
it's almost like not a battle royale game. It's an RPG series.
Yeah, and it's like one that people cooperate a lot more times than murder everybody in those games. The evil route is probably done a lot less.
76 is like fine now. I just like resent it for what it is.
I guess it's the same way. It's sort of like I never got into it, but like, I will always remember like No Man's Sky. I compare it to the same thing, and both of them, like, I have heard from people, it made itself into a decent game. It took years.
It did take a very long time
after it had been out, but it was trash beforehand. And the thing is,
I played 76 when it came out because it was like a free weekend trial kind of deal. I think it was really bad.
Yeah, I mean, like, it took them how long to add NPCs into it?
Yeah, it really did. But now it's apparently pretty decent.
It's fine. It's just like, I feel like everything about that game, even if it's a fine game, which I don't mind, screams nobody cared. And that's the problem with it, You're gonna stop me right there? NPCs were in the game at launch.
They were not.
What? Oh, like. Oh, humans and factions were. I'm sorry. Okay, human NPCs.
Well, there were robots. Yeah, there were robots.
I get you. I get you.
I don't count
like, people were added to the game to make the world alive rather than just a robotic wasteland.
Yeah, there were a bunch of robot vendors. I did forget about that.
Gotcha. Okay, there is a distinction there that is important.
It is an important distinction.
Yes.
It was still really dumb not to have humans in the game.
Yeah. I don't know.
And also really dumb to tell your story through audio logs.
Also, again, like, I just, oh, there's a super mutant that sold you stuff too. Yes, but there was a super mutant, and why was there a super mutant when, the entire super mutant storyline was like the canon Fallouts 1 and 2 shit.
Right. I mean,
this one.
The Brotherhood is there, wouldn't you just gotta. It doesn't exist in the Fallout timeline. I'm pretty sure it is legit not canon.
I can say that they weren't 100% canon.
Nothing in Fallout is canon anymore.
I think that was the sad thing, is I felt like there was an established kind of storyline with Fallout 3 and New Vegas, and even 4 felt like it was in there from what
Most of 1 and 2 are canon. Like, about half of Tactics is canon, and then all of Bethesda stuff is canon, except I don't know if Fallout 76 is canon.
Well, Fallout 2, didn't respect 1.
No.
Because I think they didn't. I don't think they expect to make a second one.
No, they didn't. They really did not expect to make a second one. Because Fallout originally is just because they couldn't make Wasteland 2.
Fallout 76 trying to be canon is just like, that's where they kind of like lose me on that one a lot. It's like, I get what you want, but don't try to be canon if you want to do all this stuff. I'm fine with you doing it all.
The timeline's a little futzy, but the timeline's always been a little futzy.
Yeah. And I think that's the like, as someone that tries to do like the storytelling, like if I would move over to the Fallout RPG, I can't have a futzy storyline,
Yeah, if I would do the Fallout RPG, which I'm kind of intending to doing, I'm just going to ignore the East Coast. Because that's a bit too futzy for me.
Yeah, well,
I would just set it in, like, New California. That
would be an interesting place.
Canada.
Canada. We heard a lot about Canada from it, you know?
Yeah, there's like a decent amount of lore about Canada and Fallout. We've never been there yet.
I mean, there's plenty of places that they've got little bits of lore about, but it's like, you know, actually seeing
the whole war just straight up has lore that no one knows because it's not really said in game.
I mean, like, yeah. I mean, like, I picked up on like the Battle of Alaska. You know, that was, but that's what you get in Fallout 3.
You get that in Anchorage. You get that lore there.
Yeah, which was good to get.
Three's a decent game. And they patched it recently, so you can play it now.
Really?
Yeah, they released a patch that actually made the game playable on modern PCs.
Cool, as I hurt my neck with my cough.
Because Microsoft wants their games playable.
And I guess because they now, Bethesda, they want to have this library of older games. So they're like, well, now that you can play this game again and on our thing.
Buy it again, yes. Yeah.
I mean, if they resell it for, like, cheap, I'm not
against it. I think it's like $10 usually. It's like 10 or $20, which is
10?
Average for old-ass games.
Yeah, like, $10 for an old-ass game, you know, that maybe I didn't own or something. I'm not against that at that point in time. That feels like what you'd get, like, a used copy of something for. I mean, like, before we get too side story, I'm going to definitely say, like, I'm going to look at Nintendo and glare at them for reselling old games for, like, full price.
Fallout 3 is $10.
That's not bad. Is it, I guess
$20 if you want everything, which there was a fair amount.
There was a lot of stuff that they did with that one. Hey, granted, I'd spend $20. It's like I could probably pick up a used version of it for like $20
also,
or something.
Always on sale because it's a Bethesda game.
Yeah, so you know, that's not bad. But
anyways, super off topic. We're not talking about Fallout today.
Well, I only got one more main topic before we move on to some stuff, and that is... Oh, I should probably throw this docket in the chat, too.
I see what it is, and I don't want to talk about it. Can we skip it?
No, we can talk about the Goonies.
Oh, damn it.
And USAoploly. It's not a Monopoly version of it, at least. I know. It is Escape from One-Eyed Willie's... It's a Coded Chronicles game. It's one of the games series that I actually think are half decent at USAoploly.
Do you want to know why it's not a Monopoly board?
Because they already have one? Yeah, I'm sure they already
have
one.
Oh,
definitely. And a dice set.
Yeah. Sake. This company needs to be stopped.
Look, if they just made these Coded Chronicles things, they're like interesting, like reskinned, like mystery games set around stuff. I'm not against those. They did like a Scooby-Doo one, and I forget what the other one was. That there was a couple other Coded Chronicles ones they've done that were interesting sounding. Let me see. Oh, the Shining one where you're escaping from Overlook Hotel.
That could be cool if I liked The Shining.
Yeah, but I mean, Chunk was killed. Who did it?
Oh no!
No more Truffle Shuffle. I mean, I think the actor that played him actually passed away, which is
probably like a bit of an old movie at this point.
I mean, they were all kids though. Like Sean Astin's still like alive. And
yeah,
stuff, you know?
Sean Astin is still alive, and he's pretty cool.
I mean, I always liked his father, who played Gomez, and then the crazy old professor on Briscoe County Jr. And if you don't know Briscoe County Jr., it is weird. It is a weird Western show starring Bruce Campbell, and that is enough said.
The actor's still alive.
Oh, I thought someone passed away.
He retired.
Someone passed away from the cast. I thought one of the kids.
He wasn't in much else.
Nah. But yeah. So yeah, their Coded Chronicles series is all about, like, you know, treasure hunting, exploring, solving a mystery, and it's a mystery box game. To go on for the second mystery box game for today, except this is Goonies flavored.
$30.
You know, it's one of those things is that, like, $30 for, like, a mystery game, I don't know the replayability of these here.
It's cheaper than Monopoly boards usually.
Yes.
Putting that one out there.
It's that thing, it's like, yeah, mystery games replayability is a hard thing to say. Some of them do, some of them
really
don't.
hard to replay a mystery game.
Yeah, and these
unless
are like...
unless it's like Clue where it's randomized.
There might be some randomized components. I don't know for their series here. I just know that they are supposed to be escape room style games. They're Code Chronicle ones, where they're kind of like solving mysteries, you know? So yeah, I don't know. I mean, you reference a lot of stuff, so it very well might not be replayable. But of course, unfortunately, there's a bunch of those that are like this.
There really are. It's the problem with the mystery genre of games.
I mean, I'm gonna be honest. If you're like a really big fan of escape rooms, if you want to like have an escape room at home, this is fine. You know, you get like 5 friends who like escape rooms, and like you just buy one of these. It's a lot cheaper than going to an escape room.
Everyone kind of goes in on it, you know.
Yeah, and so much cheaper than an escape room, and you might have a similar experience. Because those are expensive. Not bad, but expensive. So yeah, I put the escape room games as a, if you like that kind of thing, unfortunately. I mean, I feel like, again, this is the one series of games that USAoploly has done that I'm like, it looks like a good one in comparison to a lot of stuff they do.
But the bar is very low. To be fair.
Look, just because they've lowered their bar exceptionally low,
the bar is in hell.
There was really some stuff that I saw in the last 2 weeks that I just questioned my existence.
I didn't know they made code names.
I'm just gonna say, I don't know who this person is, but they got a Monopoly game. If you go to their most recent posts.
Oh, hold on. Okay.
I mean, they also got a South Park one that came out in the last couple of weeks, but that's not the one I'm talking about.
Okay. Let's see.
Yeah, go to blog, and
blog.
Then just scroll down to most recent. It's the second one over.
I
don't know this person.
Who the heck is this? Google.
Hi, Aurora. What's up?
My dad wants to know if you're going out to the store and when.
Oh, it's a YouTuber.
Oh, it's a YouTuber. Really?
What? All right. How much content are you getting out of the YouTube channel?
Maybe
Friggin...
I don't know yet. I'll find out. I'm still doing stuff right now.
God,
So.
I hate
love it.
Monopoly.
Yes.
It's the worst board game.
But USAoploly has to sell you. I think it's just because it's in their names. They've got to sell more monopolies. They've got to make more of them. Stupid chair back that I set up on here that I never fixed quite correctly. Look, maybe it's my own fault. I don't fix that. Whatever. Anyway, so yeah, USAoploly. Hurrah!
They do things. And they shouldn't.
They certainly do. Well, do we want to talk about our deeper discussion then?
Yeah, sure.
A much better topic. I had today's topic be the dungeon crawl.
Ooh.
Because it is a unique set of... The dungeon crawl can either be part of your adventure, and most adventures have something that is equivalently a dungeon crawl.
Yeah.
But it can be your entire adventure. It can be a large
also
portion.
can. There's a whole D&D adventure that's a dungeon crawl.
I don't know where that book is right now, but I have it. The Dungeon of the Mad
level
Mage.
like 5 to 20 adventure.
Yeah, the Dungeon of the Mad Mage. I own that one. I got it because I like epic dungeon crawls like that. They're hard to play, though.
I do love dungeon crawls. Well, let me rephrase it. I love dungeon crawls in 5e. In Pathfinder, it highly depends on who made the dungeon.
Emerald Spire is really good. I played
Pathfinder.
Yeah.
It's the unfortunate thing of every Pathfinder module has one really terrible dungeon. You at least one.
Yeah, like, or dungeon that has issues.
Yes.
Like
Slosh Karamak is maybe the worst dungeon I've ever done.
I will agree on that one. It is the more I think like when I first did it, I didn't reflect upon it as well. But like
it's the layout is too small.
Mm-hmm.
There's too much bullshit traps even for Pathfinder standards. Like a demon or devil. I don't really know what it. I don't remember what it
Airness.
was.
It summons an Airness for like
Is an Airness
8
a demon
turns.
or a devil? I don't
It is
really
a devil,
remember.
and it is a murder machine that's like
Yeah.
5 level. It's like the thing is, it's like you're supposed to survive for a period of time or like run from it or something, but you don't know that.
It's a little. That's just a little too much.
It is way outside of your CR. Is the thing.
Yeah, and then the enemies you're going up against require a very specific type of character to deal with easily.
Yeah.
Because golems are kind of bullshit. If you don't know there's going to be golems, it can be very difficult to deal with.
You need either someone that has spells that don't require spell resistance, someone that has like adamantine tools or something,
Yeah.
or you need basically a best boy like you have in Skulls and Shackles who can super hammer something.
Yeah, like because I remember through most of Slash Carmack, my character was the only one dealing damage because I had the blanches for my arrows.
Yeah.
And then Umber can't roll to hit anything, even though Umber was our striker.
That was an unfortunate part of things.
That is just I've been in a few games with Umber. Umber has the worst rolling I've ever seen.
Yeah. But yeah, so Slosh Karamac's pretty terrible. Like, I feel like Riptide Cove is not poorly designed. It's just a difficult design because it makes sense, but it's annoying for players.
Yeah. The issue with that though is because it's water based.
Yeah.
And that slows most characters down. I didn't have any issues because I have a swim speed. So I didn't feel as frustrated with that dungeon as I think other players maybe did. And also you're fighting Grindylow, and they're just dicks.
They are really awful. They
dicks.
They die instantaneously, but they get 2 attacks and a trip.
Yeah,
that sucks.
They're dicks. I felt fine about the cove. I did feel it was maybe a little too tightly packed.
Yeah.
But that wasn't that wasn't a huge issue because we don't have a lot of ranged characters in that game.
Yeah. I think that was something that helped a lot, is that yeah. The final boss area is kind of
the soup.
The soup. I think the area, it's like, the thing is that it's hard to express on the 2 maps that, like, there was a little bit more area of land than you were using.
Yeah, it is also the thing with module. In modules, they draw the maps kind of terribly.
Yeah.
That's not just a Pathfinder thing. Every 5th edition adventure has, like, the worst looking maps that don't really get a lot of the point across.
Yeah, no, that's true. That's what it's like. It's sometimes hard, definitely, and like when you're trying to like express them, it's trying to express those maps in the best way, and it's not always easy.
Yeah, it's just the art style that tabletop RPGs choose to use for their maps. They choose to use the most simplistic one, and that doesn't translate very well often.
Yeah.
Of what is there, what the space you can walk through.
There's definitely some issues with that, but I was always kind of saying, like, I think for epic dungeon crawls, like, Emerald Spire was pretty good because it was relatively simple. It was that, like, there are, I think it was like 13 floors or something like that. It might have been 16 floors.
Hell yeah.
And you effectively, the Emerald Spire, the spire itself, allowed you to teleport back to the surface. Early on, you discovered this. You discovered that there's a way to teleport between layers, but you have to have like a passcode. And so one of the things on every layer, when you clear it out, you learn a passcode. So then you could.
That's very video game, and I like that.
It's so helpful because then because there's a base, like there's a fort nearby, you can go and rest at after every level. You can escape and go rest. And it helped it make it so much better. because sort of like you're trying to figure out what's going on in the Emerald Spire. Something is like causing it to be more active, or like you're being paid to find the secrets of it or something, which means you have to go all the way to the bottom. But there's all these things occupying it, and like there is like a water level that's flooded, but you learn about it ahead of time, so you can plan for it. You know, you're like, oh, this level's flooded. Well, you know, then I guess
let me pair these spells.
Yeah. So it's sort of like you get an idea of the like certain levels, what's there. Like, oh, this level has this type of enemy on it, or something like that. You know, you're ready for these things. You can't. Now, granted, certainly players can screw that up, but you can always adapt things. You know, to teach them lessons. You know, and also like if they go to an area like, this is filled with water, let's go back and get ready for this. You really could. So, I mean.
I mean, if you're me and playing Wizard, you just forget you have to prep spells. I mean, you doom yourself.
Even if you don't have like a wizard type who can change their spells, you can just go back to the base of operations, and by then you probably have enough money to be like, can we get some potions of water breathing?
Take a nap.
Yeah. I think they also provide you some things too.
They probably do. I imagine because the way I design dungeons. Now, granted, I did it in 5th edition, where you don't really leave the dungeon in 5th edition. You kind of stay there, find a safe spot, and rest for an hour.
Yeah.
I will give potions and stuff as loot so you can remain in the dungeon. Because you're not supposed to leave the dungeon.
That's actually something I might want to do just as like a mini-series kind of thing, is run like Emerald Spire. It's very fun. I liked it a lot when I played through it.
I really love dungeon crawls. They are one of my favorite things. Although I have been in a lot of really bad dungeons.
Well, I feel like this one was pretty good because this was like back end of Pathfinder 1E,
where they kind of knew what they were doing.
Yeah, they learned a lot of lessons. Like, you know, if you look at like Carrion Crown, even Skulls and Shackles. Skulls and Shackles is probably on like that first couple of years, so it's better than a lot of them. Yeah, kind of like Rise of the Rune Lord. Rise of the Rune Lords is okay because it's pure classic D&D.
Yeah, it's your classic D&D experience.
So they don't fuck around with anything. Well, when they start getting into those things like the kingdom building stuff and like, you know, getting into like Carrion Crown,
the very specific sets of enemies per slot.
Yeah, they're inventing shit. You know,
like, you know, this majority undead themed campaign. Hey, there's werewolves here.
I mean, there's the werewolf forest that's established in the lore technically. So
it's not only like there's werewolves here. We're not gonna really do anything to prepare you for it.
No,
because I've read through most of Carrion Crown at this point because I was running bits of it for a game I was in converting for 5e. They don't tell you a whole lot of things that they should.
They tell the DM, but not the players.
The players need to know about things so they can prepare.
Yeah. I feel like that's another thing that's a good dungeon crawl does, is you at least have an idea of what's going on sometimes, or you can learn hints. And, like Mad Mage, I don't know how well that would play out, because it's so many levels.
Mad Mage is so long, is I think the problem of it, because it's, like, it's the only, like, tier 4 adventure. And it's level 5, 220.
Because I think Emerald Spire only goes up to like 12 or 13, was it? I can check. I think Emeralds.
Dungeon Mad Mage is also a 23 floor dungeon.
Yeah.
It's a big dungeon.
Emerald Spire Super Dungeon. I knew I had the PDF in here from my friend.
Yeah, the Undermountain is massive.
It is. So it's 16 floors is the Super Dungeon of the Emerald Spire. And I don't know what level you're supposed to be by the end. Probably can find out somewhere in here.
Of course the Undermountain is connected to the Yawning Portal, and everything is.
Yeah. Very, very true. Oh. Where the hell do you tell me levels people should be? in this entire thing? That's always a good question. Well, probably like on page 16, where it's called the Emerald Spire, and they talk about the Emerald Spire. Spire transport, factions. Yes, having the magical crystal which teleports you. I somewhere in here and I don't remember where to find it because I didn't look up where it was, honestly.
Currently, I think it's to level 13.
Okay. Still, I mean, that's like...
Yes, okay, so it can... Challenge is appropriate for first level characters and can carry party to level 13 or higher. So it is at least level 13.
Okay.
You could technically go higher, theoretically.
I guess you tweak around with stuff.
Yeah, if you tweak around and add, you know.
I think there's also like side things that can happen.
Yeah, there are a bunch of side plots in it as well.
Yeah. But nonetheless, I mean, like, it's a vast difference between 5 to 20 and 1 to 13. Yes. You know,
God, a game post level 15 is entirely different from everything from level 1 to 15.
I think that's yeah. Go ahead.
Because you have to get to even challenge your players at that point. You have to be very deadly. Because you're basically gods after level 15.
This tells
Pathfinder a little less, but
yeah, this tells me there is a adventure here that I have that is a 17th level adventure Pathfinder put out module. I would be curious about trying it out. It's only 36 pages, so it'd be like a mini series you do. But 17th level is really high.
17th level is... You would need specific people for that who know Pathfinder.
Yeah.
One, to make a character that level.
Yeah.
Because that can be complicated depending on your class.
It's gonna be complicated. I mean, god damn it. You know?
Like a fighter as a fighter, you will probably have an easier time because fighter... Not to take away, fighter is an easy class. But if you're a wizard, good luck. You've got so many spells to pick.
Yeah, you can fight Hrignau, the male fiendish gnarled frost giant barbarian, who's CR 17.
CR 17.
Yeah. Oh god, I guess this is the boss because you're 17. It means that you can theoretically take something 3 CR higher. So that's why there's this human witch who's level 20 you can fight. Yeah. Mm-hmm. She is also CR 20, which means she's got full player junk.
Oh no.
Yeah. It means that she has full player equipment. That's bad for you.
That's fine.
Uh-huh.
Those who've never played Pathfinder, a lot of your power comes from equipment.
Yeah, that's the thing. It's if she had NPC equipment, she'd be slightly less.
Yeah, when you got player equipment, oh boy.
Yeah. But I guess you're 17th level. You're ready to take on stuff like that. Jesus. Well, they do give example 17th level characters that just don't have a lot of details.
Yeah, using the example characters would make it a lot easier, actually.
Yeah, they give like a very tiny spell list as I'm seeing here, and just like these are skills and feats and stuff like that. I mean, they keep it relatively simple, which is good. But so they got a rogue, ranger, paladin, and sorcerer for their team. Ooh. Yeah, but no. Getting back to the dungeon crawl as a concept, like the idea that the idea of a dungeon crawl is you enter an area and you're exploring room to room. It's going to happen in your adventure most likely, unless you're like a pure role-playing adventure.
Or because that's a very different kind of game. That's like your kingdom building kind of thing.
I mean,
or your very political stuff.
I guess you could have like the more encounter-based adventure too, where you're just like, I'm going from encounter to encounter.
Those always feel weird to me and unfitting in a world, because to me the world is not being overrun with monsters. for you to play. Because especially in 5th edition, where they want you to have 6 encounters in a day.
I forget that you're supposed to have like 6 encounters in a day.
You are. Well, it does say adventuring day, and I attribute that to meaning when you are actively going to seek things out.
Yeah.
Not like when you're traveling between cities, you're not going to fight 6 hordes of goblins.
Well, I mean, Pathfinder, they're telling you that you should be having a 4 encounters, first edition at least was, 4 encounters of your CR, basically of your level, a day before you need to rest.
I kind of ignore that. You just don't have you fight things every day, because that's not how the world works. Unless your world is either in the middle of the war or you fucked it.
So you don't you don't go to the back of the book where it's got a bestiary of like extra creatures and random encounters you could possibly use.
Oh yeah, where there's all these stupid tables like can roll on.
And you look at that random table chart and you're just like, well, you know what? I'm going to add in all of these encounters at places throughout the game. Hey, you're resting? Hey, one of these encounters just pops in.
It reminds me of the time in a D&D game where we were walking between cities and suddenly there was an adult red dragon we had to fight because it was rolled on a table. That's not how those work.
There was no table rolling for us. Whenever we did anything, we just expected one of these encounters to occur. Yeah. Even the ones that were higher CR than us. So many characters died. That adventure was a nightmare. I've got PSTD, like adventure nightmare.
That's why I don't use random encounters.
It was just that entire thing. It scarred me forever.
It's so dumb when you have like constant encounters.
Oh god, it felt like that. It did. Oh.
Like, I enjoy the Sunday game I'm in, but we have at least 2 encounters a day, or a session. It's getting to be a lot.
I thought Giant Slayer was a really interesting adventure. I don't think I could ever do anything with it again because that's the one that it was in.
Oh my god.
It kind of it was like, the thing is, like, it's like I could not redo that adventure ever or play with that adventure because it's like it's scarred to me. You know, it was an interesting adventure. It was neat. You know, you're fighting against like. I think it was the idea that like you start encounters with groups of giants that are like, you know, there's like a call of like a evil giant god that's coming back or something, or it's like cleric is trying to like, you know, reunite an empire of giants or something.
Sounds about right.
Yeah, so you know, you battle through various groups of like there's the second one is like it's hill giants and then like, you know, things like that and stuff, but
encounter-based games are weird. I prefer dungeon-based games. Personally.
Yeah, no.
Or a mix of both. You can have both.
And dungeon could be small. It could be like a dungeon's 5 rooms.
A dungeon could be like a cave is a dungeon if it has monsters in it.
Yeah. It's a single room, but it counts. So there's like the complexity of your dungeon makes a difference. I think when people talk about the dungeon crawl, they're talking about ones that have like half a dozen to a dozen rooms minimum, and it's going to take you a chunk of a session and probably multiple encounters to explore.
To me, a dungeon crawl is more than one session.
Yeah, I can see that.
Because I'll use Lost Mines as a good example of a fairly sizable dungeon at the end.
Mm-hmm.
That takes at least 2 sessions to do. And I think it's a very well-designed dungeon.
Man, I've never gotten to that last one.
Oh yeah, I usually stop after the dragon because it's stupid.
It's hard to get even to the dragon.
Its side quest is the adventure. There's a story there. It doesn't. The little book that they give you doesn't really tell you how to tell it to players.
Nope. They
I've
don't.
actually run it in its completion. I actually quite like it. But I had to do a lot of work to run it.
I've tried to run it just without that work, and it just doesn't work very well.
No, you gotta. It's one of those things you kind of have to attach to a story you're gonna like continue.
Yeah.
It does give you a little bit of setup.
Fish People Cave was pretty good.
I did like the Fish People Cave. I really enjoyed Kelmer getting netted every 5 minutes.
That was great. Oh man.
That was my favorite part.
Mm-hmm. I think, like, there can even be these, like, dungeon crawls that aren't dungeon crawls, even, like, you know, areas that I feel like, you know, the concept behind Schloss Karamak is bad because the execution is bad. Oh, no, the concept's good, the execution's awful.
Yes.
And I think the Schloss Karamak as a dungeon, it is a dungeon, but it's like an occupied dungeon, and you can have ones that are more occupied. Sort of like the one building was like the living quarters. There wasn't a lot there, and like you didn't actually have to fight anything. And so you could have stuff like that where you're not fighting things and kind of exploring. And
there was a way around one flesh golem if you just put the guard uniform on.
Yeah.
Then you had to fight some rust monsters, but they're rust monsters, so they're not like, you know, mega deadly.
Yeah. And then there's the earnest trap, which
you can theoretically dispel it, but it's gonna be very difficult.
Yeah.
And if you trigger it, you can be smart and realize, oh shit, that's an airness. We should run.
Yeah. I honestly, for me, it was forgetting that airnesses were as deadly as they were.
Airnesses are super deadly.
They're really awful. It's also like you have to remember. It's something I forgot at the time about Pathfinder. Pathfinder is oftentimes decided in only a few rounds. Like 5 rounds will oftentimes decide a battle. Therefore, if you're in an airness where the object is to survive for X rounds, it doesn't work because X rounds is beyond the living condition of most Pathfinder battles.
Yeah. In general, like, I'll put 5 rounds in actual game. That's like maybe a little bit over a minute at most. That's how quick a battle is in D&D.
Mm-hmm.
Now that, granted, in real life, because you're playing in that can take like an hour or two, depending on like what you're fighting. Generally, they don't last past like 6 rounds in most things, unless it's like a mega boss.
I assume usually there's like a cinematic draw to everything that you just use it as the normal kind of. This is the time period you do.
Oh shit! 10 rounds is a minute. Jeez.
Yep, 10 rounds is a minute. 6 seconds is a round.
Good lord.
Yeah. You can do a lot in 6 seconds.
You slaughter a lot of goblins in one combat. It's a lot of dead goblins in less than a minute.
See, actually, this is one of the reasons I do like World of Darkness combat better, even though I do hate World of Darkness combat. They specifically say a round is between 1 to 10 seconds, depending on what happens in that round. If not a lot happens, it's a second. You know, it's not a lot of time. If everybody uses a bunch of mental powers, that's just thinking.
Yeah.
If people are actually like clashing with swords and blades, it's longer.
Yeah, it makes sense.
Mm-hmm.
I do now love that, like, kicking in D&D, you just kick in the door, and then in like 30 seconds you've just slaughtered like 20 goblins. Because they're goblins. Although they can be really deadly.
I mean, I can see like just fireballing a room and killing them all, but that's...
I mean, there was like a fun story I heard of like a DM who set up this kobold ambush in a desert, and then the wizard was like, I shatter all of them, because they were all conveniently in shatter range. And then there was no encounter, because they're kobolds, and they were all liquefied.
I remember a trap I set up back in the day, and I set up it back in original 3rd edition, not before 3.5. This is 3.0. Shock lizards didn't have a cap on how many dice of damage you could do with them combined.
Jesus.
So I had a room where they had like 100 of them in the walls.
Good lord.
2 members of the party entered into there. One of them was immune to electricity.
Oh.
And the joke was they were high level at that point in time. So the one just like immolated, but he's like, you know, as he's like, the other one's like, I'm gonna keep walking back very slowly. It's like rather than like try to disable this trap, it's because every step like they zapped or something. So it's like, are you all right? There's just like this pile of ash that's smoldering. They had true resurrection, so they brought him back then. But still, you know, it was like, why did you torment me like that? It's like, I didn't do anything. But yeah, it was a stupid trap. But it was trapped in less. Traps are hard to manage, though. I mean,
Traps can be hard.
I think that's the thing about a dungeon crawl is you expect like traps sometimes of some kind.
The way you kind of have to do traps, if you're gonna do them, you kind of have to add them to the CR of the total experience, quote unquote, for the day, right? And if you have them put them in their CR category, because anything that hurts a player has a CR technically, because it can kill a player.
Yeah.
So you kind of have to factor traps into that, and sort of futz around with your number of encounters. Like with the Kobold Caves, I've done a dungeon, amusingly in Sunday. There was written at 27 traps in it.
A lot of traps.
So, and half of them were landmines, basically. And two player characters don't have dark vision, so they couldn't see anything. So we're like, all right, Paladin, go set off all the traps. Because you could live through it.
Mm-hmm.
And yeah, and then we killed like 20 kobolds because they made us mad.
Yeah, I think I like the idea of the dungeon crawl. It's just hard to pull off in a good way sometimes.
It is. You have to put a lot of thought into it. Right?
And epic dungeons are just they're just whole lot more layers. Like I really do recommend like if you want to do make an epic dungeon of yourself, read an epic dungeon.
Yes.
Either like if you're doing 5th edition, I'd say grab Dungeon of the Mad Mage. Like just read up on what they do there. If you want to do like Pathfinder, I'd say look up Emerald Spire. Now it's 1st edition Pathfinder, but it can give you an idea that would help even for 1st or 2nd edition Pathfinder. You know, how they structure things.
If you are doing a mega dungeon, either you have to give a way for players to leave safely so they can rest, or have safe places where they can rest within the dungeon.
Yep.
And a lot of DMs forget to put rest places in dungeons, especially for 5th edition, because resting doesn't come up a lot in 5th edition.
That was one of the things I really did like about it. I hated the 3rd adventure of one of the main adventure series where you go fight Orcus in 4th edition, because at the beginning of it you get trapped in a pyramid.
Ooh,
like a shadow pyramid. And the problem with 4th edition is it felt as badly equipment required as it felt worse equipment required than Pathfinder, I will tell you. You really needed equipment in 4th edition. Which was a problem with it, you know. You kind of needed those upgrades.
Yes.
So when you couldn't upgrade for a bunch of levels, you felt it towards the end of that adventure. You could still manage, but you did feel it. But right away, they establish you find like a little closet or something that like you could barricade the door and rest in here. Right away. That was at least something they gave you, you know? It was nice. God, I really have to play 4th edition with some people. I really have to run it. Like, I think it would be an interesting experience. I keep thinking about it, and I really should. Because, as I said, 4th edition, it lends itself so heavily to Roll20.
I actually learned something about 4th edition recently. It was designed originally to come out with a digital tabletop.
God,
But the digital tabletop never got finished.
That makes so much sense then. Oh, it makes so much sense. See, you didn't hear about that because back in early 2000s internet, there was stuff that went around. It's not as good as now, you know?
No, God, no.
You didn't get as much of that information, so... Oh, that makes sense. Like, honestly...
Yeah, if you look at how 4th edition is designed, it makes a lot of sense.
It is.
It was supposed to be a forte into digital tabletop, but the digital version never got finished.
Again, the problem is that like how many times people could play with that digital tabletop because you needed it.
And also, like, the internet at the time was really garbage. Not a lot of people had stable internet still.
Yep.
You didn't really get that until like the 2010s, honestly.
It's a game that you need positioning. Positioning is key. Like, there are so many powers and abilities that deal with manipulating the movement of people and things like that, that it is critically important. And so you can't play without a map 4th edition. Like, you can do Theater of the Mind for Pathfinder, for 5th edition, you know.
You can estimate, you know, this guy he's about 60 feet away. You can estimate and hit him, but with 4th edition you need that precision.
Yeah,
the exact measurements.
A lot of things manipulate that, and that's why. But yeah, no, I should talk about. I should hit up some people that are interested in 4th edition, just like maybe like just an off-stream thing for fun.
I'd love to try it properly because I've had one game of 4th edition and I didn't like it because it was in person and we didn't have the map.
Maybe I'll see if I have in my old books, because again, I had a friend who had a bunch of PDFs and stuff. Maybe I have an adventure or something that would be like a single thing or something, and just run that off stream, and then, you know, think about maybe a larger adventure in the future or something. I could try it.
I think it could be cool to do a little tryout of 4th edition at some point.
Yeah, but yeah. Back to our topic of the dungeon crawl. It's something you're gonna have to deal with as a DM. Is I think the important thing to say about it. What the depths of it is going to be up to you.
Because it is that classic adventuring thing of eventually someone is going to go into a dungeon.
Mm-hmm.
Because lairs. You know, the big evil necromancer, he's not going to be out in an open field. He's going to have a castle or something. And that castle is a dungeon. You're going to have to deal with that eventually.
Yep. And it may be good and it might not be good. That's always a difficult question of whether it is. But yeah. Okay. We normally talk about Kickstarters for a little bit. I'm just gonna give a shout out to one, just because there's just because it's like I've backed some of the other ones. I might not back this one. Trinity Continuum. They're doing a new one, Anima.
No.
Yeah.
It's this one.
Yeah. There's like physical and virtual enemies, so it's like it's kind of like it's in between the future one and stuff like that. So it's supposed to be like 2084.
Like this picture of this dude who just has a chair with legs. You scroll down, he's being chased by like some knight. That's really good.
Oh yeah.
It's really good.
I get it, it's a lot of the physical versus digital world, I guess, at that point in time, you know. So it's an interesting path of things to think about. I mean, they're at least doing very interesting ideas with it. They've had Aberrant, Adventure, I think Aeon, now Anima.
The new Trinity stuff is something I have wanted to try eventually.
I've got some of the books. I gotta try it at some point in time. Like, I got the Aberrant book and stuff, but it's a thing to think about for the future. But, so, that leads us to... We got 2 weeks to tabletop.
Oh, boy.
Did either of us do anything on either the 2 Saturdays ago or this last Saturday?
I don't think we had anything on Saturdays.
Yeah, we don't. You've had probably 2 Sunday games?
I've had 2 sessions of Sunday. Okay, so I had to have a new character introduced because I had made a character with Lynn. We were kind of like doing that, make our characters together thing, and Lynn had to leave the game. So I'm like, it doesn't feel right to play this character without Lynn there.
Mm-hmm.
So I started playing Wizard. I'm playing a Bladesinger Wizard now. Bladesinger's pretty fun. I'll give it that. It's very, very cool. Very different way to play a wizard.
Okay.
To actively put yourself in melee range.
Yeah.
But the way my character was introduced is the party had to go rob a warehouse to get information. I also was robbing that warehouse for information. Because it relates to a little sub-quest I'm doing. And I found a safe that was arcane locked. The idiot that is me as a player forgot to take knock as a spell, so I'm like, okay, I have acid spells. I try to melt the safe, didn't work. Alright, I leave to go get a knock spell. I'm currently invisible. I exit the door. There's another player's invisible. Slam right into the other invisible person.
That's gotta be just confusing. You're like, what?
So yeah,
what?
the spider and my wizard just slam into each other, both knocked to the ground like, what? What the fuck? And we saw more golems because it's a golem-themed game.
I mean...
Our bard got one hit. He was a new character too. So the bard almost died in his first session.
Oof.
Big
oofs.
And then next week, now we have super mega combat where we did a trial for someone who was like accused of treason but didn't do any treason, and we watched that, and it was 20 minutes of the DM arguing with themselves, which is always funny.
Yes.
So that happened, and then we went to go watch an execution, and then more golems showed up because I guess they wanted to save the person because the person is a super evil mage who might be a lich. And now we're fighting more golems. That's all we do is fight golems and constructs. And it's not the most invigorating thing to fight when it takes half damage from mostly everything.
Yeah, I mean, that's agreeable. It's unfortunate that, like, I feel like constructs have their place, but you can't really theme a game around them very easily.
It's really hard, especially a lower level game.
Yeah.
We're starting to get stuff to bypass their resistances, like magical weapons, but it's taken a while to get that.
Yeah. It's like, I do like having constructs, but I feel like I just never have a good place to...
In games where they would fit, I like having fleshy enemies, and then they have some constructs to like back them up as like the tougher ones. Yeah,
I can see that.
Or like you'll have a mage and he'll have like a construct with him because it's his bodyguard. Yeah, constructs are just hard to run because half damage.
Yep, I agree. They're difficult things to deal with. You just kind of figure it out sometimes.
Yep.
But I did have at least a session of Pathfinder 2e.
Nice.
We have gotten to like the final base of the enemy cult.
Ooh.
Of dragon cultists. They're trying to like
those damn dragon cultists.
I mean, they're like trying to summon like evil dragon rather than like end of the world dragon. So like other dragons are on our side, kind of thing.
That's fair.
Dark dragon god.
Whatever Pathfinder equivalent of Tiamat is.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's like like one of the children of Tiamat or something. So it's like a death dragon god or something, that was trapped between worlds because it was too evil or some kind of weird crap like that. The usual
silly dragons getting trapped between worlds.
Yeah, that old chestnut. But
more common than you think.
Apparently. We've just been base exploring and slowly moving our way, fighting a couple of things here and there. We managed to sneak by their main defenses into the actual building, and now we avoided a fight with like a golem that was guarding it. It's because one of our people had sphere of invisibility, so we all hung near them and just walked by it. So now we're just exploring the building and finishing off the people, with the idea that we will probably go and murder the other stuff later or something like that.
That's fair.
Maybe we'll find a way to control the golem and have it murder its other
or something.
that'd
That'd be cool.
Yeah. Haven't had a game on Tuesday in a while. We had a couple of Buccaneers. Did we have one?
We had two sessions of Buccaneers.
Yes.
One where we did a boss fight with a squid lady and a big shark man.
Yeah.
It is an interesting boss fight. I think the room is a little poorly designed. Yakul has no right to still be alive.
Honestly speaking, there's like just a couple of rolls that kept him alive.
Did we have a session of Tuesday? I didn't know if we did.
Oh yeah, you have stuff on Tuesdays sometimes.
Oh, we only missed last week. Right.
I forgot you have the other Tuesday.
Yeah. So I don't remember fully what happened, but our wizard had a mental breakdown because they failed horribly at everything. And then the wizard robbed a warehouse to feel better and stole a shit ton of mithril and some magical engine parts. And then just like chain slept the gnome guard who heard a noise. So that poor guard just like fell on the floor 3 times asleep.
That poor man.
Yeah, but the wizard had a mental breakdown. Started really getting into how her parents didn't like her because she's a tiefling. Got a little awkward for our characters. Because they were horribly drunk. It was Cell's session entirely, pretty much, and it was hilarious to see all the failure. I don't think Cell rolled above like a 10 that entire session.
Jeez, that's some bad rolls. But yeah. So then yes, fought Fishman. The Shark Man didn't get to swallow anybody. He really, really wanted to. He almost murdered Yakul, but somehow he kept alive.
Yakul has no right to be alive because Devil Squid nearly killed him pretty much immediately. The shark nearly killed him pretty much immediately.
I don't know why the rolls keep him alive.
Yakul is destined to live or die doing die somewhat. Yakul's gonna die in a non-combat situation by just failing a save and falling into a pit.
Probably. That sounds about right for like how these rolls have been sometimes. It's just gonna be like he falls into a pit. Well, you've died. Oops. God, I do feel like that's gonna be what happens.
Yeah. It's gonna be something stupid and not combat related that's gonna kill Yakul.
He'll choke on a bone or something.
Yeah.
So yeah, and then you had a mutiny.
And we had a mutiny, a surprisingly easy mutiny because someone does at least 20 damage a hit.
That helped a lot.
And then what's his face got trapped and surrounded and was like, "All right, I surrender."
Yeah, and then you just killed him.
And then Umber just. To be fair, I was gonna try to execute him with evil hand.
Mm-hmm.
And then, was it Plug got mega hit with a hammer a bunch of times and then just yeeted off a ship?
Yeah.
Yeah, cool.
Mm-hmm.
And we never found the body, so either he's somehow still alive or a squid took the body.
We never know.
We'll never know. That plot point will definitely never come up
I
again.
definitely won't have a ship that's basically Davy Jones from Pirates of the Caribbean with Squid Plug and
never come up again.
A Squid Lady Queen who resurrected him with dark magic from an evil monster god in order to get revenge.
If it does happen, we'll finally get her harpoon and sell it for the loads of money it's worth.
I mean, it won't be a lot by then. That sounds like a future you problem, and by that time...
That's future Rio's problem. Future Rio's a chump.
Future Rio's a chump. Future me, you chump.
Future me gets to do all the chump work that present me doesn't want to do, so...
Yeah. So we're off next week from that game and back for technically season 2.
Yeah, technically season 2.
Technically season 2.
We have our own boat now.
Yeah. After It'll be good.
After many sessions of being slaves.
Hey. No, you're only indentured servants.
Oh, it makes it so much better.
I mean...
They did pay us, technically.
They did technically pay you.
We did get paid.
Mm-hmm. You actually did have somewhere in the forced contract payment.
Yeah.
You know, every time you looted a ship, you got some stuff from it. You just had to, like, you know, actually do that.
We just had to actually do pirate things.
Yeah.
Who knew?
Yeah, I know. It's an amazing thing. Do pirate stuff and you get stuff. Thursday. I think
We did have Thursday stuff.
we had one session?
We had 2 sessions. One was like a super chill downtime session where you met a gnome and a factory blew up, and that's kind of all that happened.
Yeah.
And I think you hit on the gnome as your weird gremlin boy.
She wasn't that interested. So
She's
maybe...
married to science.
Yeah, maybe I'll have better luck with the halfling.
Yeah. Yeah, now you have done... You fought in a forest, although... Oh no, that was 3 sessions ago where you met the gnome.
Yeah, 3 sessions. Then we had a murder in the forest.
Then you did a forest murder party where a 5 HP kobold got, like, killed with 50 damage.
Something like that.
And Lin wasted a lot of things killing that one kobold who had 5 HP.
Yeah.
Yeah, you killed a bunch of kobolds. Once again, my mage kobolds don't get to do anything because they keep getting blinded. I'm just gonna give them blind immunity at this point.
Yeah, if they learn about us, they'll be like...
They're gonna learn.
Then
he's got goggles on. You can't do anything to his eyes now.
Then we went into a cave where there was a half-dragon, and also...
Yeah, a weird cloak dude.
Lynn's brother, who's
the parent brother,
who's very suspicious, and also I think wants her dead.
Potentially.
I was pretty certain from the tone of voice. It's like, oh, you survived. It's like,
oh, you're still alive, huh?
Like, you weren't expecting that. Okay then.
Well, the half dragon was meant to stay narrative, but Lynn decided to try and go hit it, and then I almost had to kill Lynn's character as punishment for that. I was fully prepared to kill her. Poor Keisho.
Yes. I do sometimes get annoyed by that. I'm like, here's something cinematic, and they're like, we're gonna make it non-cinematic, and I'm like, really?
Right. She's gonna hit you with 3 axe attacks now. Enjoy.
Yeah.
He fought. I think one was technically a battle mage. I think she was actually a weird custom stat block I had made. And she got almost killed immediately and was like, "All right, I'm fireballing the entire room now," and then died. Then became a shadow demon.
Yes. Kelmer's a stated being.
That wanted to eat your soul. And then you killed it. And you didn't kill the other one. You saved the other one. You have a prisoner now.
I mean, we have a prisoner now. We rescued some other prisoners who were like...
Rescued a bunch of prisoners.
They were very confused, but, you know, I was confused also about... Like,
everyone's confused.
It's fine.
Lightning's character has a bigger gun now.
That's fine.
Arcane gun.
That'll probably not come back to backfire in any
Yeah,
kind
it's
of way.
totally not cursed. Cursed gun. I used like a little mini dungeon crawl in a dungeon I actually quite like, because that's one from Lost Mines. And I actually like all the dungeons in Lost Mines. I think Lost Mines is a mechanically very well made dungeon adventure that doesn't tell its story very well.
Yes. I can see that.
But yeah, you fought some more kobolds and you got loot, and you technically did one of your objectives.
Yeah. I mean, Children of Wrath, where talked to some dragons and some things happened.
Some dragons.
Mm-hmm. And I mean, like, I think Mad's character wants to, you know, I guess
a little weird.
Have weird relations with a dragon who is technically juvenile. I mean,
It feels a little weird.
Feels a little weird. The dragon's pretty young. I'm trying,
Yeah,
you know, like
that's a pretty young dragon there, you know.
yeah, pretty young dragon.
Wait a couple centuries.
I mean, you know, give it like 50 years, and maybe it'll be like at least you know, late teenage age, you know, kind of an.
Still a little weird.
Still a little weird, but it'll be like a 17-year-old. You
Carrion
know,
will be like 100 or something
well,
by that time.
Carrion's a half demon. Carrion lives for like I don't know how long.
Half demons live a very long time.
Yeah, she might be nigh immortal, you know, just like a demon would be. Technically, I think like the only people that'll die in this group are Cole and Kaz. Kaz might go for like some temporary immortality, or
I'll
at
be
least,
honest.
you know.
Cole's got like at most 20 years left. The dude's 60. He's old.
He's old.
He's old, and he has an increasing number of children every time someone asks.
Yes.
Yeah. Carrion simped for a dragon, and then Claude fell in a hole, and that was the session.
Yeah. Yep. And you totally found something that you needed a fish for, and
yeah, then we stopped.
So we stopped. Yeah. I'm like, here's some artifice. We should stop.
I am curious. Had a wall not been brute forced, what was the solution to that? I imagine it was something magic-y.
Yeah. The easy solving it would of course been like something like a stone shaping spell. That's the most easiest way.
Mm-hmm.
But I did leave for there was possibly some other solutions. I just was going to see how creative you were, and they just went for brute force.
Brute forcing is always a choice.
Yeah, it was fine.
There were things I was going to try, but I'll be honest, I don't do much in that game. Kind of in the background a bit. I'm fine with that.
Sometimes you just need a background character that's just like, I'm there. Just
there to sass people when they need it.
Mm-hmm. And to try to make sure that these children are looked after.
They are actually children. I'm sorry. They have the mentality of 3-year-olds.
Well, I think like Carrie effectively ran away from home and then never grew up.
Yeah, it seems like it.
Mm-hmm. And I mean, I think the idea is that like Kaz is a goblin, so has this like mentality of like, we don't live very long, better to like live fast, die hard kind of thing, you know, something like
Claude
that.
Is Claude,
and Claude is just like, well, I mean, I'm here.
They've lived this long. When they die, I'll absorb them, Claude.
When you guys die, I'll absorb you into me so I can remember you forever. Ugh. God. Claude really should not.
Claude should have died a long time ago.
Claude is technically a horrible monstrosity.
Yeah, Claude shouldn't exist.
Claude is the worst one out of all of you, technically.
I did find it very amusing of Joe just being like, I tell the dragon I'm a half dragon, technically, kind of.
I'm like,
that was a decision.
I wasn't gonna stop it, but I'm like, this is a terrible decision.
Like, you know, I'll let you kill your character.
That's kind of where it was at. It was like, you're telling a bunch of dragons who are probably like,
you tried to fight the giant in your brain, and that didn't go so well.
Yeah. Like, I think it would have been like if he could have actually like summoned the half dragon, it could have meant more. But just saying it is just like,
yeah, to a bunch of dragons, that's not okay.
Yeah, you're a lesser automatically that you're basically screaming out. I'm like, Jesus,
you're an abomination that also shouldn't exist.
Thank you for mentioning that to us. We'll do something about that by horribly mutilating you.
Yep.
Yeah, good times. Well, they didn't. You convinced them not to murder him.
Yeah, I rolled okay.
And he did have a decent speech about that kind of shit or something.
Claude's whole speech was, I'm a horrible monster.
It was kind of a big chunk of that speech. I was trying to pay attention. Like, there were a couple of things he brought up, which was okay, but a large chunk of it was, "I'm a horrible monster." I'm like, this is not a good defense.
Oh yeah, by the way, these horrible creatures that invaded our world, yeah, they made me.
It's like, that's even worse defense. I mean, like, he was not good at defending himself. He tried.
Cole's just there to make sure these children don't die.
I mean...
And if they do die, Cole's just gonna leave.
Yeah... It'll be fine.
Cole's gonna... If all three of them die, Cole's taking the ship. It's his now.
So... Good times. And
Cole does have a hot wife, it's true.
Yeah. Yeah, she's probably also your age, but has remained hot, you know, or something like that, you know. So
she's a druid. She's got magic for that.
Mm-hmm. She's probably like a high level druid. She always will look hot or something, you know.
She's hit the level of druid where you just stop aging.
Yeah. So. I don't think there's anything on Fridays. I didn't have anything on Fridays.
I don't think I had anything on Fridays. No, I don't do anything on Fridays.
Yeah. So, cool. But that was our week in tabletop!
Yeah.
Yay!
Had games.
We had games. Some good games. I forgot Sundays.
Oh yeah, Ant game.
Ant game. I tried to forget it, and I remembered
there was one week when we played.
Yeah. I think because we had off the 1 week.
Yeah.
That's why I was trying to forget it. But yeah, you cleared out a nest of giant ants.
We did fight ants.
Yeah. Fought some more ants.
We fought ants, and then we're vaguely recruited into some kind of organization, and also they just recruited 2 literal children into it. A newspaper boy and a Boy Scout. Go fight these horrible monsters for us.
It's more like you're involved in the secrets and but it's better to keep you close so that the secrets don't get out.
We have soldiers. We'll just send this Boy Scout and this paper boy in with you.
Well, I mean, the first nest at least, it was we have 2 soldiers, and the ant scientist was like, no, we can't inform anybody else of it. We must keep it as small as possible. I guess since you 2 are here, you get to help out.
Poor children.
Yeah, those poor kids. Kind of recruited. Well, the one at least is late teens and also probably has some form of training that screams.
Actual child soldiers.
The one is the paper boy's kind of becoming that, I'd say. I mean, I'm gonna say the Eagle Scout. It's 1950s Eagle Scout. He probably has some militia training effectively.
Yeah, just in case the communists invade.
Exactly. So I'm not gonna think that makes perfect sense. Unfortunately for that.
That's just the paper boy who throws newspapers at an ant.
He was the newspaper.
Somehow does a lot of damage.
He aims for the eyes. The tiny, tiny, beady ant eyes. He knows how to target them.
You did deadly neurotox in the ants.
He did deadly neurotox the ants. And, yeah, they do have first-hand tactical knowledge fighting these things now.
True.
It's you've learned how to kill them. You can help us kill them. It's a silly time, but I have actually chosen the next movie, actually. It took me a while to figure out what I wanted to do. I was thinking, do I want to go as silly as them is? Do I want to go something a little bit more serious? I think as Josh suggested, Night of the Living Dead would be a good one to do at some point in time.
That's a good one.
But I also felt like that one was definitely going to be a much more serious one. So I went for something a little bit more in the middle. It is British. It is a little bit more monstery.
British.
But since it's British, it automatically adds a level of seriousness to however,
That's how everyone speaks.
Yes. It's the accents. It lends to seriousness.
There are two British accents in movies, like the serious uptight or Monty Python.
And let me tell you, this one is played at the serious uptight, even though it is a fairly... Just the premise is silly. You know, it's that when you break down to the very premise of the movie, you're like, that's kind of silly. But, like, they play it that straight-laced British way, so it works out. And I'm going to be doing that one, and it will be a pretty good one. Again, it'll be announced when we get close. I don't have to see if there's a trailer for it. I haven't actually looked that up to see if there is one. I
can only hope.
But, yeah. Hey, there is an official trailer for it from the 1966.
Nice. So
I'll have to get that set up. So yes, 1966 will be the next one. We're going to color instead of black and white.
Shit.
I know. But I'll have to figure out who I want for that one. I'll have to start looking around, see what kind of team I get. Maybe I'll try to, I'm going to try to, like, for these, because there's a lot of them, switch kind of people around, so we get,
yeah, it seems like a good plan.
Variety, so...
variety of personalities.
Yeah. So I'll start looking around. But, we're going to have at least one more episode of Ant Fighting. Maybe two, depending on how well they do. I have everything set up for the finale kind of stuff. You've reached the level where you have access to military. So now
boy.
You don't have to run in and do stuff as much anymore. Will you? I don't know.
I have to go hit an ant with my baton again.
I mean, it's a great idea. Anyway, yeah. I think that's everything then. So those are our weeks. I don't think there's much else to shout out, say.
I don't think so.
Kind of hit on it all. So, I think we'll call this episode here. Another one in the books? Is that the way they say it? I can't remember.
We can put this in the book, I guess.
I mean, I guess I'll just eventually...
It seems like a lot of work.
I'll upload it to YouTube. I'm still behind on episodes.
One day you'll get to this episode.
I mean, I'm behind on all of them, but I'm slowly catching up. I've, uploaded, 5 this week so far.
I've seen them popping up in my sub feed.
Yes, I mean, it's progress. It's the right direction. Judging that I was, behind on... July was the last time I had uploaded one, so I mean it's a couple months back. I think the one that's going up. I think it was. I forgot to finish it up for today. It's going up probably tomorrow. Is end of August. So hey. Anyway, thank you for joining us all today. For the two of us. Thank you for joining me, Momo.
Yeah.
Hopefully be back next week with more crazy stories, topics, news, and all the like. And, I mean, that's the Saturday after Thanksgiving. It should be okay for me. I don't think
that should be fine.
There'd be anything going on at that point in time for me. But you never know. Well, if something happens, so something happens, schedule for stuff. Tomorrow, movie. Then I'm fairly certain we're off on all other normal games.
Yes.
So
I might... Raw for Buccaneers and Raw for Wrath.
Yeah. I might try to get some streaming in of some kind just because I'm off them. Or I might... I might, not on probably one of the normal days, I might organize something special on a day of the week or something. I don't know. Do it. I don't think I want to do a Thanksgiving thing because that's a hard holiday to do something of, I guess.
It is.
Holiday season, that's easy to spoof, Some of the other ones are easy to do.
Yeah.
But I'll see what's going on.
Thanksgiving is just a weird one.
Yeah. I'll figure it out. So yeah. If there's anything else going on, stay tuned for, announcements. Otherwise, I'll be back tomorrow and then next Saturday for Discussing Tabletop and stuff in the middle when it is announced. So till those times, I guess farewell everybody. Goodbye. Now just hit the stop streaming button like so.